Well, howdy there, folks. Welcome back to the Friday Council podcast, episode 15, December, the week before Christmas, 2022.
Woohoo! Festive!
How's everyone doing?
Great, man. Super hot.
Yeah.
But good to be back for another council. We were just saying before recording. Feels always good. Hopefully anyone listening also feels calm and counselled when we're chatting. Just like that in your head.
No, it's nice. I think for me, it's something you look forward to during the week. It's kind of like entering your weekend.
Yeah, productively.
And then
feels like it anyway.
Exiting the work week.
Yeah.
That's obviously it's when good. We record on a Friday, but
good transition. I can actually segue this into what we think we'll talk about today.
On,
I love the relationship that we've developed all like from this. If it, outside of it's great as well. This is like a different kind of relationship. And anyway, today I put forward the idea of relating to other people, relationship, not like romantic relationship necessarily, but just been thinking about relationships with other people as we are all moving forward into like increasingly technological and seemingly more isolated. There's less of a need for human-to-human interaction. I think that as well when I pay for petrol, when I don't even have to go in anymore. That'll be considered normal pretty soon, I'd say. But yeah, just off the bat of like, had a serious argument with a significant person in my life, and it's never great, but it just had me thinking about relationship with other people, and yeah, just trying to get along and how like fragile it can be sometimes. What do you guys immediately think other than a romantic relationship? But when I say like relationships with other people, struggled? Have you guys struggled throughout your lives, or it's always come pretty naturally?
I used to argue a lot when I was younger. I think I do a pretty good
with everyone.
No, not if I guess more parents. But I don't remember the last time I've had anything more than like a mild, robust discussion. Yeah, I think I'm pretty good at navigating away from arguments these days because they just don't achieve anything.
Well, not
they
even
just like the other person or both parties go away like more entrenched and like, well, they're not going to be like, oh, gee, he had a great point. Like they're going to be like, no, like I'm right. So yeah, I do a pretty good job of just navigating away from arguments, I think, these days. Yeah. But yeah,
not even arguments either. Just like in general, general connection. Like, you ever found it hard to I don't know, make friends as a kid?
It can be an adult. It's hard.
Yeah. More difficult as an adult.
Way more difficult.
I feel like kids kind of you don't have like such a filter. You just whether that's was that old-fashioned saying like kids don't see color or whatever. So naturally as you get older, you might just find yourself open to like prejudice, and you might not be aware of it, like coming across people, and it's natural to like internally judge them, even though we like know it's a wrong thing to do. It's just, I think, something that happens.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of. Judge not, lest ye be judged. That's become real apparent in my life as well. Recognizing that.
But the thing you said, I think, about having, I guess, in like the technological day and age of having face-to-face conversations. I'm fairly old school, and I like prefer to do that. I know, it's not very easy to do. People living busy lives, and there's only so many hours in the week. If you're not, you're working full time and that sort of thing. But like, it's so hard to have like a meaningful conversation through messages. Like, I think having like a group chat or like your standard like texting or Messenger or WhatsApp, whatever you do, it's like there's a purpose for that. But like, if you're ever talking about anything serious, it seems way more efficient because, for one, you can read body language in person, or at the bare minimum, like probably talk on the phone. At least you can hear like vocal. I don't know. You know what I mean? You can kind of hear in people's voice.
I have a good example of that as well. It's like like through Messenger, you're saying you mentioned messages and text is real inefficient to get points across.
You can video call, but I still don't see it the same.
But then like also I think we mentioned it before, like language itself is like kind of like a filter through, like you're trying to like explain your like concept in your head, you got to filter it, ram it through almost language, and most of us aren't that articulate anymore these days.
Yeah.
And then we got some neighbours like diagonal across. Specifically diagonal across, it's very important information, that just like have massive blowouts. They're pretty scummy. They have massive blowouts like on like a Saturday morning. It's so quiet, super quiet, and they're screaming at the top of their lungs, no exaggeration,
At each other,
like full on domestics. And it always ends up with one of them, usually the guy speeding off in his car, then someone's coming back like 20 minutes later and then more screaming. Classic. It's real entertaining, like real juicy gossip. But I just think that I'm like, oh man, they obviously like have no idea. It's always about the same stuff. It's like, you lied, you promised you were gonna blah blah blah, you upset the kids, they're crying, blah blah blah. Just real explicit domestic, and all the neighbours here, we all know. Sometimes I just pull up by my fence and just like tune in and
just
and
pouring
enjoy
yourself
it.
a cup of coffee every Saturday morning. Ready for it.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm like, I'm just here in case it like escalates and I need to call like the police or like step in if he's gonna like get physical with her or something. But I'm just, if I'm honest with myself,
You're
it's
ready
just real
to
entertaining.
hop the fence and
Yeah. One outs. But yeah, I often think I'm like, it seems like they just like don't know. They get so emotional and don't know how to communicate like articulately enough so that they're just like on different wavelengths, and it's just like yelling and swearing at each other, which is obviously doesn't achieve anything. Like you mentioned just before, David, like if you're arguing with someone, no one's gonna be like, if they can sworn at and abused, they're not gonna be like, they're not gonna have the time to think reasonably, like, that's probably pretty fair. Yeah. So I think as we move more technological, more text-based communication, it leaves a lot more room to be desired, like in terms of getting exactly what you mean across with all the subtleties of body language.
I've had that happen for me a lot of times. Like you're trying to convey a message, and it just gets misinterpreted, or it comes across as like not angry or like blunt or like to the point. So I mean, you can add like emojis and stuff and try and lighten it, or add some GIFs or GIFs or whatever you like in the conversation, but it's just not the same. It helps, and but it's really
low bandwidth. I think is the word. It's that like not much information gets
way
through.
to like
and like
summarize
boomers.
It
is a skill as well. Just like language is a skill. You have to learn how to speak properly, and the more words you have in your repertoire, the better.
It's a nice word, repertoire.
Yeah, thanks. The better prepared you are to like get your exact thoughts and messages across. But like, I often find it quite jarring, and you have to remember who you're speaking to sometimes, especially with work. Like texting with a lot of like boomer age people, they're real blunt, and they love the ... Like just where a regular sentence, where a regular full stop should be, and a ... comes across like passive aggressive in our generation, I guess. And younger, So it's like it's quite jarring. You think you've done what? Why would they be? They're like thanks ... And it's like that's how you imagine it's.
Yeah, it comes across as like sarcastic almost. It's like thanks.
Yeah. ...
It's
unnecessary, but I suppose it's just kind of like a generational misinterpretation. But it's just difficult overall. It's always going to be difficult. It's going to be endless conversation for the rest of human history, I think, like figuring out how to best relate to each other. But I think it's probably going to get more like Asperger's-y, where like we're all not practicing our face-to-face contact. So it's going to be harder to read those subtle cues that people with like Asperger's and autism struggle with. But that everyone will just, like a muscle that's not getting used, it will like atrophy.
It's hard to know. I don't know if it's just because of our own little sort of like bubble that we live in. I don't know what other people get up to, and there may be some people out there that really like emphasize the whole, meeting up in person, like going out for a coffee or whatever. But from my understanding, I don't see that as the norm. Like it's more of a luxury to do that, as opposed to just like chatting on Messenger or kind of lazy. Like you're just lying on the couch when you could physically be like hanging out.
It is. It feels like you're being
Yeah.
social, but it's not really.
Yeah, well, you mentioned off the pod, like growing up in high school, like would see playing games with each other, like video games is like a social thing because I mean you are technically like talking to each other and hanging out, but it's kind of low bandwidth in a way. It's fun, like it has its.
You're not really
perks.
relating.
No.
And you said something before as well, like you instantly, or maybe you, David, instantly referred to like childhood relationships. Like it wasn't hard as a child to make relationships with people, and then you mentioned they have like not like lack of any filter, and like not having these preconceived notions. I think that's what I thought when I was reflecting on the argument. I was like, there's like stuff that's just like self-censoring yourself. You're not fully open, and that feels like even metaphorically it makes sense that it's like stopping you from connecting fully, and stuff gets misinterpreted and then like magnified. And once in a heated state, if you misread one thing, it can like very quickly diverge the common ground. Yeah. And it's tough. And it doesn't serve anyone.
I think as humans, we have a desire for the most part, even you might be introverted, to have like social connection. Like I think it's like a core longing for a lot of people, and that's why it seems more prevalent now with the use of like cell phones and social media. Like you're not getting your core needs met when you meet. Like it's all kind of superficial through a lens or through like an avenue of like Messenger or posting and seeing what people are getting up to. It's like, I don't know. I used to have that. I don't know. Within the last decade, it was really one of those things I struggled with. When I think it was more when like Snapchat came out and they introduced like stories. That was I think where it started happening, and you'd see like certain friends having parties or together or like recording videos of them like having a good time while you're like feeling left out or missed out, like you're missing out on that sort of thing. And like it's all fun. Like I'm not saying we shouldn't stop using social media completely, but you kind of just see like it's like a highlight package or a highlight reel. Like Instagram, for example, is probably the main like example. People will only post, for the most part, they're like best of the best.
Yeah,
or like,
no doubt.
How many times would you take a photo? No, that's not right. I got to get a proper photo. I know. Let's take another one. Like you've got to make it look good for the gram, sort of thing. So yeah, it's like your social needs aren't being met, and so do we need to like strip it back, and really emphasize the point of like catching up and meeting up with people. It's kind of sad, especially when you see like we hear about certain people like say committing suicide, that you think, well, they've got it all together, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So I think there's that real core need to like check up with each other and hang out. And I think I know it's only leading into summer, but last summer we used to play like disc golf. And it's fun. Like it's a good thing. You're getting exercise, you're walking around chatting with each other, but you're also like learning and improving on skill. So but yeah, face to face is definitely, there is need for that.
Yeah, everyone could probably, it takes a bit of bravery, but we could all probably get a bit better at wearing our hearts on our sleeves. I don't think it's going to negatively affect your life nearly as much as we like catastrophize it in our head. I was just talking the other day to my partner about some of her family members, and the ones that I can like, I feel like I've seen them all roughly, I see them, once or twice a year at like big family events, but there's like two that were quite a stark comparison. One, I feel like I know really well, and they are just like, they just wear their heart on their sleeves, and they don't really seem to care necessarily about, they are polite, but they don't care if they're coming across polite. They just say what they think, and I feel more connected to them because of that. And like I maybe because I like understand them more, I feel like I understand them more. And the other one's like very polite and quite reserved, who I'm sure has just as much of a personality, but more wolves up and just like just playing the social game of politeness and
Like
not
it's always like that small talk, like
always small talk.
hey, what have you been up to? Like, how's work going? And it's like you need to like break those barriers down.
Yeah.
It's just a common thing.
It is a common thing. But if to make like I reckon I'm gonna have to consciously try and wear my heart on my sleeve a bit more, and it just puts other people at ease as well.
Yeah,
when you do that, because it's like you've shown all your hand basically. It's like a poker metaphor, so they know like what to expect and what's coming. It's not so unpredictable.
I think that would be quite an interesting thing to try and notice. Like if you ever come across and meet someone, like introduce yourself. What are the first things you say? So hi, my name is Nav or Navro or whatever. What do you do for a living? It's like, do we need to just go straight out on like the
what's your life goal?
Yeah, what's
like
your life?
deep.
Yeah, what would you want to achieve in the next 5 years? You just
I think it's
with,
super
like, a
contextual way. If you're really good conversationalist, you can use like whatever's happening around, and that's why you can never explicitly teach it. It's like on the Undateables when they're like prepping their sons and daughters for the dates, and they're saying like, they're trying to explain like what to say, what to do. And usually for the guy, like if they're talking to the guy, the general advice is like just ask questions, like ask her about her, like the girls like that. I can't remember what the parents of the girls tell each other, but there's no like script you can read because it's gonna be like it's like dynamic and live, and unfortunately it must be real stressful for those like autists, but it must be a real struggle, like honestly really hard to figure it out. And it's also hard for all the rest of us as well to figure it out. Like dating for the first time is a minefield. And you figure out slowly what not to do and what to do.
What's socially acceptable.
Yeah. But then again, everyone can relate to the feeling of instantly connecting to someone, like straight away, like within 5 minutes.
I think, it's true. I think that's right. It might sound real corny. We're not really going to like romantic sense, but I felt like I noticed from like the first time meeting my wife, there was just something like different, and like I felt like you could relate. I could have related to her like
straight away.
Nice, man. I mean, how we got together is a completely different story, but like it's a hindsight thing. But it was just something I think about. You don't really, when you meet someone, like often you can kind of tell within like the first 5 minutes, like, do I want to hang out or get to know this person more? Or it's like, nah, just move on.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to quickly touch base back on what you said about, like your neighbours, for example, having like arguments every day.
It's like every
once a
fortnight.
It's pretty common.
Like it's pretty common.
Yeah, in the weekend or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes you just need like a different perspective. Like if it's one-on-one, sometimes it can be hard to like understand and really like analyze yourself and what you're, we say stupid stuff all the time out of like frustration, anger that we might not mean.
Yeah, 100%.
But sometimes you also need a bit of perspective from like close friends or like family. So like if you have a group of guy friends or whatever and you're chatting to them and like, I had this like discussion or argument with my partner or whatever, often you might like find they're like, no, you've actually got it wrong. You kind of need to like take back what you said. No, you've probably approached this wrong. I think it's the same both ways, because realistically, if it's more like a relationship or a romantic sense, like you're ultimately supposed to be a team and working towards the same goal, like the same direction. So, there's no real benefit from arguing, and like if it's a constant thing, maybe you just really need to like reevaluate what's actually happening, if it's the right choice. You will have arguments down the track, or you will have, disagreements, because we're all autonomous and have our own like needs and desires, and then you maybe just have to make sacrifices. Or
I think that's one of the separating things from like a like a I don't know, romantic relationship versus a friendship relationships, like aiming towards something. You're like a team aiming towards something rather than like a friend, rather than expecting like you're here to make me happy and then nothing in the same thing. Like you're just here to make me as happy as possible. Thinking about it like what's the word? Like mechanically, kind of. But I suppose a regular friendship is maybe. Although there's an aspect of a good friendship that's like you make me a better person, like a romantic relationship. But it's a bit more maybe towards like I hang out with you because I have fun personally. We're not working like this is explicitly us working towards one thing, but you know what I mean, right?
I know what you're saying, and also I assume I know what you're saying, but I also think on the opposite end, you might have the sort of quote unquote friends that you really message you when they want something. It's like, what can I do? Like, what can they do for me? So I'll reach out to them, and like, that's pretty lame, like
it is.
I think I've gotten better at picking up on that sort of thing over time. So, well, you haven't really like talked to me in a while. What do you want this time?
Yeah.
What do you want this time?
Yeah, I felt that. I think I've been the person who's been doing that. I'm like, I look at the messages. I'm like, the last time I messaged this person was when I wanted some substance or something. I'm like, that's kind of rough. Like, I feel you feel bad. Can you relate, David?
I think I can relate more. I've been on the receiving end than that. I mean, I probably have done it. We probably all have. But yeah, certainly been on the receiving end of that to some pretty extremes. Going back towards
pretty
high school.
Explicitly, like you just
I remember I had someone who unfriended me on Facebook, someone I was reasonably good friends with, and they unfriended me on Facebook, and then like they added me back on Facebook a few months later, and they were asking for money. Like, what the fuck? You literally deleted me as a friend.
That is oblivious.
Oh man, yeah,
oblivious social skills.
That was
or maybe they just didn't care. Psychopathic.
Very I don't know, vulnerable
naive.
Or something. Yeah, so I was like, yeah, of course, I'll
buy
you give you this money for a phone top up.
Yeah, right.
That's rough.
In other respects, just like relating to people, I was thinking what other kind of like human relationships we have, and I thought about like business relationships, and then I just filled up petrol the other day, and I was thinking about how we don't have to pay any, like go and even see a person there anymore.
Yeah.
You can just pay it at the pump, and how that is surely going to be much more normalized. And even if they get doesn't seem like too far off, they get the technology just about right. Even like supermarkets are pretty much are almost people free. Like everyone uses basically the self checkout most of the time.
There are extreme examples of that. I think it might be like Whole Foods in the United States. They have like their store. It might be like a little mini supermarket or more of like a convenience store. Basically, like you walk in and I think they have like RFID things at the gate that like pick up what like as you walk in, like, okay, this is account number whatever, blah blah blah. You just grab the food or the drink or whatever, and as you walk out, it recognizes that you've grabbed it, so you don't actually have to pay.
Yeah.
At the
but you still pay.
Well, you still you still pay, but you don't have to like
make the action.
Yeah, make the action or tap or whatever. Were you saying about like service stations or petrol stations, whatever? Like, yeah, I think for me it's more like a convenience thing. Like you're just on the go. It's pretty easy to do, but
it's all about efficiency.
It's efficiency. Yeah, it's more of an efficiency thing. Like if you're going there and you're wanting to grab like a coffee, well, you could have someone make it for you, or will we get to that point where it's like, no, you just push a button at the
probably
thing and have like a robot make like a barista made coffee?
Yeah, I mean, and business is all about efficiency, and I suppose you can't efficiencyise whatever word that means. Like human relationships are not something that can be made probably efficient. Although maybe in the future that can be made efficient. You take a pill that makes you feel like you've hung out with your friends for 2 hours and had real good conversations.
Pack and Save in certain stores anyway, and one of Morehouse now have like something called Shop and Go with those like guns. kind
Yeah,
of
that's
look
what
like
I was thinking of.
laser guns where you walk in and you scan everything as you go, and you just like
it's
there's
pretty
real no need
intermediary.
to like go through the checkout. Someone scan all your things and then you pack
But,
it.
I mean,
yeah,
a lot of those interactions, the first ones that will go and are going at the petrol station, they're all garbage interactions anyway. Like I worked in retail
That's
for
true.
a long time, and usually more often 99% of them aren't wholesome or at all. There's the odd customer that kind of makes your day or week even. You're like, or you even see them after you actually have them once, or I've like met someone there working. But on the other end as well, it's like super draining. It's just not a natural. It's obviously clearly not a natural interaction, like from the person who's seeing 1,000 people.
is it like? Hold on, we'll just pause that there for a second. Apologies for the cutout there. We just witnessed in real life what you were talking about before. With
I
your
was
neighbours.
validated. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Synchronicity. The neighbours just went off.
Just
Dropping ends.
some pretty foul language.
Pretty poor communication, really.
Yeah,
Pretty low bandwidth communication.
Bit of a shame, but also slight bit of entertainment for our Friday afternoon.
Let's be honest with ourselves.
Call it what it is.
Yeah.
But I think what were you talking about before with the it's like business relationships?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, they came in about the right time, just as we were segueing to a mainly different topic anyway.
Yeah, that's
the
true.
topic. What did we talk about? The petrol and whatnot.
Yeah, it's like this. It was like superficial. Those are like the sort of transactional based things where it doesn't. You're saying you worked in retail, so like,
how
many times would someone come through? Hey, how you going? How's your day going?
Yeah,
there's not really anything there.
That's right. Yeah, it's not meant to be. It's not like good for either a person's mental health. But I think I just think we're gonna have to get more intentional. The more we go on, even into adulthood, but also as generationally with technology, just going to have to become way more intentional. And there's a couple friends, I welcome you guys to do it. I'll never be mad. Just to, even if it's for nothing at all, but especially if it's for just anything you need to ask, even if it's just admin, like, hey, do you own, like, do you have a spare charger for this phone or something?
Yeah.
Ringing up, it's real nice. I've only got 2 friends that regularly ring. And, before that, I would think something serious is about to happen.
Yeah.
It's like an emergency, but it's real nice. And then you just end up chatting. And I feel like going to do that, I've done it a couple of times myself. If you feel like kind of awkward, you're like, oh, this could be real awkward. Like they might be, but you got to trust that you have good friends and like reasonable friends. And also friends in general, wanting to do something. I've found that I've been lucky to have friends that have enjoyed just sitting and talking as like an activity. I feel like a lot of people are pressured to like need to do something to ask for a friend to come over, rather than just hang out and just sit. Like oftentimes we'll just sit, or we have like a fire pit outside, which is cool and can kind of distract from any. It provides context, so if there is any awkwardness, which there's going to be anyway, I suppose, but less so if you've got better quality friends. But I mean, that provides some context to drag away from any awkwardness.
Do you know, it probably gets easier as the time it goes on and like friendships develop. Like there's always, feels like there's always going to be that initial like awkwardness, and you just get past that. But sorry, that also made me think of something funny going through like growing up, when you would like ask your mates to like if they wanted to go to the movies.
Yeah,
because it's like it's kind of you go and you're sitting together, but you're not actually talking.
It's
you're
the
actually
worst.
just sitting next to each other to watch a movie.
Yeah.
And like if you're talking to each other like in the middle of the movie, well, you're a dick.
Yeah, and what do you guys? I think just in general, me and my partner disagree heavily on this, but I just reckon any screen time really, whether it's a video game's a bit more interactive, but like TV, movies, like anywhere, any screen interaction is like that's two or more people were doing is like always like garbage. I don't like it. It's like a fake, in my opinion. It's like a fake. You feel like you're being social because you're like in close proximity, and there's something to that. I think anyway. Like just like the vibe of being around people is what you don't get over FaceTime, you know. But I just think it's like kind of a waste of time. The screen time. It's not really a good connection activity. And I remember thinking that in year 8. And I invited my intermediate girlfriend to the movies, and after the movies I was like, we just said like goodbye, like awkwardly. So I was like, oh damn, we would have said maybe 10 words to each, like, you know, like meet up before the movies, like, hey, how's it going? Like awkward, and then like, should we go in? And then like, yeah, sweet, and then sit there for a bit, and then say nothing for 2 hours, and then go home. I was like, that was garbage. Why is that an activity? Why is that like the first thing you think of?
Yeah, that's true. Like, well, yeah, that's a good point. I think, well, we've had even here like a couple of times where we've put on a movie or like a documentary, like, in, you know, a few guys or whatever watching the same time. Like, it's not the most social, but hey, there's probably an element you can eat food or eat dinner first and then do something. Like, you gotta have a bit of balance or a bit of both.
Yeah.
But that's funny that we think about those sort of, you know, hey, you want to go to the movies so we can sit next to each other.
It's very default. It's
do
like,
nothing.
well, if there's nothing else to do.
But I like watching movies.
Any other, I suppose, like, relationship with like family members is going to stay pretty constant throughout time and not age, but I don't know. Even, I mean, assuming going from the times we've had houses and walls separating families, I suppose you can quite easily become reclusive as a teenager, as everyone kind of semi does, and that wouldn't have been, you know, even just a couple 100 years ago. I suppose there's no time like that to just laze around. You were probably working on a farm or something.
It was. Even
you
live in one like open room where all the beds were in the same room or something like that.
And I feel like back then as well, something that we're missing is like a relationship where you're both working towards a common goal, being the relationship itself. I think a family would have had more of that aspect as well. As a family, you don't really work towards anything together, but back in the day, it would have been just more survival. Yeah. And then again, that extends out then to your good friends and community and small communities. But you just don't need it, so you're forced to be more intentional about it, I think. Now.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I wrote something down before, regarding like relationships. It made me think: is there kind of like a tier structure to like relationships, or like the importance, or importance probably isn't the best word to use, or like the closeness or meaningfulness or whatever. Like, say for example, at the bottom you'd have your superficial relationship, like you said you work in retail and customers would come and, hey, how you doing?
The most basic human interaction.
You know, it's just like transactional based almost. Yeah. Maybe slightly above that, I had an example where I'd go to a particular Indian restaurant, and over time, like they knew me because I would go back. So it's like, hey, can I order such and such? Oh yeah, like they knew you were coming, or if you came in, they knew what you were going to order, or they'd get it ready for you. Even like coffee shops or whatever, something like that. Maybe after that, what do you have? Like,
I wonder if they could be hierarchicalized that way, because like it's important to have. I don't think you can't have like one romantic partner is going to scratch all your human relational itches. You're going to need to hang with your boys, and she's going to need to hang with her girls, and and I think I think it's maybe some issues that arise if neither of you are doing that elsewhere. You kind of bring those needs and like cram them into the relationship. It doesn't work, or maybe just inappropriate relationships in general, like making your mum your best friend. Is inappropriate, as generally considered pretty inappropriate. Yeah, but if you don't have any best friends, you're gonna like feel that urge to like be friends with someone.
Yeah, I know some people who like have a really good relationship with their parents. I think it's and to the point where like, you know, they share like everything, or like got to go through mum and dad, you know, through everything. But I think that may be more of like depending on the age difference between child and parent. I think that's like young parents, so they might have been like 20 when they had this. So
or younger.
True,
considerably
like,
younger.
Considerably younger. Whereas there's a big gap in age between myself and my parents. So it's like, well, they're not going to relate to like how I'm feeling, even though obviously, you know, they've gone through that when they were much younger. But it's like, well, I'm not going to go to them about certain things because they won't really be able to relate in a dated like today's society. Very rarely would go to my parents about important things. I think the last time, I think I had like not a breakdown, but like it was after like a real long past relationship where it's like, man, what am I doing with myself? Like, where's the direction I'm going? And like that was kind of cool in a way, but like just generally, it's not. I just don't have that relationship with my parents.
So,
So maybe it's an age thing.
Yeah, possibly an age thing. Also, kind of as you get older as well. This is kind of a tangent, but again, one of partner's family's examples. She's a fully like adult. She's definitely adult. She's older than us, so she's in like 30s, maybe close to 40. I don't want to offend her, but she's real hip. She's like real. You would never expect it. She's like real down on culture, and so she could have a full on conversation, a relevant topical conversation. Maybe not topical, but like she'll be relevant to like a 20-year-old, And so I guess it depends somewhat on that, like the personality of your adult, not just the age. What else about relationships into the future? Anything else that's come into you guys' mind? Talk about business, like romantic, and just friendships in general. But yeah, I think my main thing I'm thinking of is just that it's going to have to get more intentional.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
think so. Because it could be another side thing. I don't know. There's a lot of depth to it, but like talking about the metaverse and how that big push. To be honest, I don't know a whole lot about how it works. I'm assuming it's kind of just like sort of VR, or like there's the extra dimension. Well, I remember listening to a podcast from Mark Zuckerberg, like how confident he is this is going to be like the future of relationships, and how you can like meet up and interact with each other digitally, or no, that's probably not the right word, but like virtually, or even like traveling to, like you could meet up together and you could
go on an adventure, slay some dragons.
Go on an adventure like abroad, or I think the technology that if someone would say, let's say like the Great Wall of China or whatever, like someone would walk through the Great Wall of China, so you can record all that sort of thing, and then from then on, now you've got the opportunity to meet together, and you can like look at it for yourself, or like you can travel with friends together.
I suppose that's also
it's a weird concept.
The video game aspect as well, where you're like, you might not be at the Great Wall of China, but a good story game, you could be virtually with your friend, like traveling through the video game. And we have,
true.
If Skyrim was more than just single player, I would have much more fun and playing with friends. That would be amazing.
I think I played Skyrim for all of like 10 minutes.
Not your cuppa.
Just didn't understand. Like it seemed like one of those games that everybody either loved or hated. I remember making a character, going through the first thing. I was like, I don't know if I could put time into this.
You're not a fantasy guy. Neither are you, David. We talked about that.
Yeah, no.
Damn, so good.
First person shooters.
Yeah, fair enough. All right.
Look how I turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like that, thinking about that, going back in time, like I would have regular meetups with friends online, and like you'd make a squad or whatever. Like you'd play COD or Counter-Strike in my example. Like you're working as a team. Like you've got that social element, but it's just not the same.
Do you think the feeling can be mechanized? Do you think it's maybe not explicitly taking just a pill to feel that way, but you can boil a lot of things down to chemicals. Although I don't think it's just that. Do you think it? Like the metaverse is gonna can be optimized so that in every way it feels exactly the same?
Well, I mean, this is probably a personal prediction, or what I think would need to happen would be some sort of maybe like haptic.
Or just needs like all five senses.
Yeah, or like where it uses your senses, or if there was a possible way that it tapped into like your sensitivity, like feeling, so you're not actually feeling it like to the touch, but like I don't know, digitally or through technology, like you would feel it. It's hard to explain because it's not a it's a foreign concept. But like, say if you lived on the other side of the world doing long distance with your partner, like maybe there would be a way that you'd have an opportunity to like romantically connect with each other through, but you're not actually in person. Like how would that work? Is it like you know?
It seems so strange, but I suppose you can get used to anything. Humans are pretty adaptable.
It's like that, I don't know if you've seen Black Mirror.
No, I haven't seen.
Oh, see, Black Mirror is a really good show. Anyway, I won't go into that, but I think there's one episode which kind of touches base on that. Oh man, I'm gonna have to. I can't remember the full. You keep talking. I'll find.
I'm just trying to remember. I was going to say
the
something.
plot. Yeah, probably find it difficult to explain, but I think the concept of this episode anyway was like these two friends, like long time friends, who like just play a game together and then eventually like developed a romantic relationship with their characters. And I think there's some element to like, I think the feeling and sensitivity that it's bizarre. I can't really explain it, but I'd probably recommend, if you want to look for yourself, the episode is called Striking Vipers on Black Mirror on season 5, episode 1.
I mean, it might be short-sighted, but I don't think it can be fully replicated. It's such like a uncalculable,
not anytime soon anyway,
thing.
No.
Yeah,
or even like the whole like Neuralink thing with like Elon Musk's company. I can't remember what it's called now. Or was it just called Neuralink?
I think it is.
Anyway, yeah, like the whole concept of like you'd be able to insert like a chip into your head or your body or whatever, that you could like, I don't know, like upload information, or like you'd be able to like
Download.
communicate with each other while not actually communicating.
Yeah, that could be good.
I think I just need to do more research into
if it's of
this.
higher bandwidth than spoken language, then that could be great.
Yeah, but then it kind of, would it not take away from the personable aspect of it?
Yeah, and there might actually be an aspect of like, you know, you can't have like you can't have good times without bad times because you need the contrast to be able to feel it. There's might be a part of it might be like the struggle of trying to get that good, always trying to get that good connection and relationship, and knowing that it's kind of somewhat rare and difficult to get really good connections is maybe part of what makes it feel so good in the first place. And so maybe even making it hyper efficient or mechanized in every brain chemistry way might still not quite work out.
Yeah,
But
I don't
it's all
know, man.
speculation.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've probably just not clued up enough on these sort of things.
I'm not clued up.
I'm not really like an early adapter to things.
Yeah.
I kind of like
That's funny.
see,
Like,
yeah.
I feel like when you're young, I think you like really young, you're more on the forefront of stuff like that. But yeah, as the older you get, like it's like
It's a lag. There's a lag
yeah,
to it.
so whatever.
Yeah, but then again, that comes with the downside of like if you're like jumping into something and then realizing 15 years later that it's making everyone depressed and anxious, and you go, whoops. Yeah,
True.
like kids love
Yeah,
the technology. And
That's
it's
true. But then you could argue for like
contributing to making them.
I don't know, like Bitcoin, for example, would have been like if you were an early adapter, well, you could have rode that wave and really benefited from it. And now if you're catching on at the end, well, the value of it has just plummeted. Like there's benefits to being early and also, benefits to being late, you know? I don't know. But that's a side topic. But yeah, like I don't know how relationships would work in the future if you incorporate like real futuristic technology. I'm just pretty old school.
Yeah, I think you're playing with unless you become robotic and like cyborg and like more non-human, more transhuman, then you're still going to have that like very human need of like genuine connection. And that's why sitting around the fire is OP, because it feels extra human.
Primal.
Yeah, very primal. It's like there's something about humans or, you know, friends being drawn to like the sight of just fire burning. I don't know what it is. I could stare into like.
It's not, I mean, it's not
Stare into
that
it for
dissimilar to
hours.
like if you YouTube trippy visuals for like, stuff that's supposed to look like psychedelics.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
It's not that dissimilar to a fire. It's
That's
like
true.
constantly morphing smooth edges, outlines. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, this is another thing which I thought was kind of cool, like the whole concept of like polyglots. You know what polyglots are? Like people that can speak like numerous, like multiple languages.
Yeah.
There's like one guy.
Polyglots.
I think it's polyglot is how you.
Cool.
Yeah, I
How
think
you
you're
say
right.
it, yeah.
I think I did remember reading. I was reading about that Russian arms dealer. He's a polyglot.
Just to be able to talk to like people with multiple languages, and so like
That's cool.
I mean, there's one guy I'm referring to anyway. His main language is obviously English, and the second language that he speaks most fluently is Mandarin. But he will just learn like different languages. I think he can speak up to like 30 different languages.
There's a dude is real popular on YouTube. There's a black guy and he just died.
Yeah,
There's Lao Shu, wasn't
yeah,
it?
Lao Shu.
That's
He was the
crazy.
one
Yeah,
guy,
he's
but there's
cool.
another guy. I think his name's Zhao Man NYC.
Oh, see that?
Oh,
He's
really?
the-
New
he's-
guy in New York.
Yeah, the guy. Yeah, NYC. New York.
Fluent in many different languages.
So he'll like go in. He'll go in to like. Well, most of his videos are old. They go to like Chinatown and like talk to them in English, and they think of him as like, oh, he's just another English guy,
oh, okay,
or
like social
white guy.
experiment thing.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he'll start like talking to them in their native tongue, and so like it really changes like how they communicate with him, how they like give him service, or like often like he's gone into like different restaurants, like like a Indian restaurant, and he'll like if it really opens up people, because if you're a foreigner, say if you've immigrated from one country to New Zealand, but your main country is like an Asian country or something. Well, like if someone was to speak to you in your native tongue while you're living, and you like, I don't know how I'd feel. It would probably feel quite like
Reassuring.
reassuring and
Yeah.
like heartwarming. So wow, someone's actually like taking their time out of the day to like communicate with me. It's quite a foreign thing, but some of his videos are quite entertaining.
Well, and that again, like in a different way, again, just highlights the importance of language in a different way, not just for like as a tool, as an ability to get out of what's in your head and communicate it to someone else, but also all the baggage that comes from the language that you've grown up with, I suppose. Yeah.
I
think
it's
when
a challenge
relating-
to learn a new language.
Yeah, or even just learn your own language better. I don't know how you can. I mean, there's apps that can do that, but like reading boring books, like somewhat smart person books, will help.
Well, I even think even as like speaking English, English is a very weird language that like certain connotations or like words that they it's like this, they sound the same but they're completely different. And so like it is a very strange language, but then often I'll come across like a word that I've just never heard before, and it's like, oh, what does that mean? Like I'll look it up and like, man, that's cool, maybe I'll try and incorporate that. And yeah, like you're saying, learn your own language better. Maybe it will help you communicate like to other people.
Yeah, I think so.
And you just come across maybe more intelligent.
Yeah, you can come across more
well-versed.
intelligent, but also that can be. I've sometimes found, again, it's like that can be another form of self-censoring when you like don't want to come across like a douche, but your first thought is the word that's like maybe a more complicated word, but it more precisely describes what you're trying to put across or what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And I've like self-censored to there's a difference between like sad and melancholy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not. It depends on which people you're around. But
Yeah, it's true.
I say go for it. Use melancholy every time if it's more clear to you. What you're
I
trying to get
used
across.
to use the word repertoire before. I was like, man, that's a good word, but probably the origins of that was like French, isn't
Sounds
it?
French.
Yeah, it sounds like a French word.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that is probably a tool, and communicating with people, like using the language or specific language to articulate. Like it's very to say, hey, are you mad with me? Or it's like, angry with me. But there's more better ways to frame or different words that really like properly explain.
Yeah. But see, like even now when we're talking like these last couple of minutes, we struggle. We come up against our own like the edges of our own vocab, trying to get our point across. So point proven, and it's probably it's more jarring as well to listen to via like even from the podcast, anyone listening to this, or even in person. It's a lot more jarring when someone like is struggling to get out what they mean, and oftentimes also everyone can relate to that someone can't figure out a word and they go, "Don't worry, like, I know what you mean." Yeah, without words. Something I find on certain substances, with certain people, you'd be like, "Oh, like the words become difficult," but there's more of that. You're saying, "Don't worry, like, I know exactly what you're trying to say. Don't stress," because it can get very stressful when you can get stuck in your head. But yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Man, this one's a bit of a difficult one to do today. I don't know if it's just the heat. I was really struggling to like think. And
it's so hot.
It's very
swacks all around.
Yeah, it's very warm.
Distractions,
sounds out the window.
Yeah,
it's a difficult one.
Very abrupt distraction from the neighbours after saying that they have regular fights, screaming at the top of their lungs. We would interrupt it. There'll be part of it will be recorded, maybe in the background.
On it.
But yeah, we paused and went and had a listen, and exactly that. The use of language is really poor. You can tell they're not using the word melancholy ever in their day-to-day life, especially not when they're angry.
There was one insult which was quite cleverly said, but we won't say what it is. I think you know.
Which one are you thinking of? Can you bleep it? Or say C or N?
No. They're going about. I would rather.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's fine. She's like,
okay, go on, just say
what slit my throat. Then what?
See you again.
It's like, that's brutal. And this happens. This happens every couple of weeks, so it'll happen again. She won't slit her throat, and she will see him again.
So I never want to see you again, but she'll probably be back in 20 minutes. He'll be back in 20 minutes.
It's a nightmare. Very entertaining.
Anyway. But that's a prime example of how relationships should not be.
Definitely, there's no progress being made there because they're not they're not relating to each other at all, and that it's full anger.
Well, yeah, even really, whether that's a friendship relationship, romantic relationship, business relationship, that's it's a no deal.
It's a no deal. It's bad for all of them.
No
trash.
Deal. Right. This is probably just a short one today with the heat. Be a bit more prepared next time.
We're gonna go take our clothes off,
swim in the pool, jump in the lake,
the non-existent lake. Yeah, I'll fill up a paddling pool for us.
We'll end it here for the day. Is there any final words?
Think about how you come across to other people and get social anxiety over it.
Any final words from you, David?
No, I got nothing. I'm not.
You know,
nothing special.
Nah, not really. I'd say thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.